Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm always in the craft room, and today I'm here with a pattern review of my Imby's Flowy top. This is a free pattern from Karmme Apparel, and I love it. I seriously love it. I am so absolutely thrilled with this make. There is one slight caveat, and I'll get to that towards the end, but yeah, how pretty is that? So I made this top with a polyester chiffon from Abercorn Fabrics, and it was pretty tricky to work with, I'm not going to lie. It was shifty, it frays, it's see-through, and this being a free pattern, I don't want to be mean about it because it was a free pattern, so how wonderful is that? Thank you. But yeah, the instructions are a little bit more challenging, let's say. So the instructions here are written with no illustrations. Now, I've been sewing quite a long time. I can generally, I know what goes where. I usually know what I'm trying to achieve with any specific sewing maneuver. But I did find these instructions difficult. I don't know if it was the lack of instructions. I don't think of myself as a particularly visual person. And I sew quite a lot from Otobra magazine, who have no illustrations, and I find their instructions brilliant, like really, really good. My issue with these instructions was that they were a combination of sparse, as in no illustrations and just quite step, 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 but also really wordy. So let me give you an example of what I'm talking about. When it came to attaching the sleeve here, you can see it attaches to the front yoke and the back yoke, and then also to this side panel. So when you come to sew the sleeve on, this is instruction number 10, it says, matching the notch to the shoulder seam, pin back of sleeve to back yoke with right sides together. Okay, done that. Then it says, from the top of the shoulder, the gathered section of the sleeve joins the front yoke right sides together. But it's told me to pin the back bit, but now it said, oh, the front bit, the gathered section join the front yoke. So I'm like, oh, so we must be doing something different with that. Ease gathers to fit. Pin in place, starting at circle. So I'm like, so we are just pinning it in place. 1.5 centimetres in, stitch along back shoulder, over shoulder to front, and stop at circle 1.5 centimetres from end. That just seems like a really complicated way to say pin sleeve to front yoke and back yoke, ease gathers to fit, stitch between circles. Because you do need to leave this bit free to then stitch this seam. But I don't know, it's like weirdly explaining lots of things, like from top of shoulder, the gathered section of the sleeve joins the front yoke right sides together. Well, of course the sleeve joins the front yoke, but the right sides together bit, I don't know, it's the way it's phrased, seems odd to me. So anyway, I figured it out, and as I said, I don't want to be overly critical because like free pattern and I love it. So, but just beware if you're not an experienced sewer, the instructions are kind of on the trickier side. So as you can see, my fabric is pretty sheer and I needed to line it. And as I mentioned in Friday Sews, when I was actually making this, I decided to line it using an old dressing gown I had, which, as you can see from this peek inside, was a beautiful, perfectly matching silk charmeuse. Honestly, this is so divine to wear. I didn't have much fabric. Should we just change the name of this channel already to I didn't have much fabric? So, and I'm talking about the lining here. So what I did on this front, no, on this front bit at the bottom, the chiffon, I cut the full width that you were intended to and gathered it. And the charmeuse layer, I cut just big enough to fit and didn't gather it. So that layer is actually flat. Now, I knew I would have enough ease for that to work. I was a little bit nervous, I'm not going to lie, but yeah, it did work. And I left the original hem on the dressing gown, front and back. Oh no, back, that's a lie. Back, I just turned under a double hem, and I actually kind of wish I'd used the ready hemmed bit at the back and that at the front, because I just think somehow that narrower hem looks better than this wide hem. But you know what? It's the lining. Who is going to see? I'm very pleased with how this back detail came out. You can have it so that the slit is at the front or at the back. I chose the back just because I drink a lot of coffee, and if they were at my front, I would dangle it in my drink for sure. And also, whenever I have anything at the front, I fiddle with it, and I annoy myself fiddling with it. It's why I can't wear necklaces, because if there's something there, I just fiddle. So yeah, I did it at the back. Came out really neat. The instructions for that bit were really good. I did make my life slightly harder by having to line it, because of course it wasn't in the instructions of how to do that. And the way I did it was I followed the instructions for this part because the top bit is fully lined. So I followed the instructions for the front and back bodice as they are written. And then for this part, I gathered, and then once I'd gathered, I overlocked that edge to finish it, because I thought if I overlocked it then gathered it, that would be quite bunchy with all the overlocking threads. So I gathered it, then overlocked it, which pressed it a little bit flatter. And the lining I also overlocked, and then I just sewed it together on the sewing machine. And I did that throughout. I overlocked everything first and then pressed open. The only exception being this final seam, which is sleeve hem to hem, which I did just run through the overlocker. And on that seam, I treated the lining and the outer as one. So I guess there it's really interlined, not lined, because that is not hanging free. But I cut the lining shorter, hemmed it first, and then hemmed the top. The sleeve pieces are massive, and I couldn't get 2 sleeves on one width of fabric as they were described. So what I did instead was I just folded a little bit out of the middle of the pattern piece. It was probably about 4 centimeters, but you can see there's still a really voluminous sleeve. I don't think it really matters. And at the bottom, per the instructions, I overlocked the edge, turned it once, and inserted the elastic. And I just used the length specified in the pattern, which was 25 centimeters. And I've got to say, I love it, because it's enough to gather it, but it doesn't actually like grab my wrist, if you know what I mean. It gathers it, but then it just hangs loosely over my wrist, which that is my preference with an elasticated sleeve. If it's elasticated like around, I find that irritating. I don't mind. This Vera top has got a deep cuff, and that in a jersey is quite cozy, but a woven top with grabby elastic, no, uncomfortable. So yeah, I absolutely do love it. I'm so pleased with it. I can't believe how nicely it's all finished. Oh, I forgot to tell you about these. Can anyone guess what they are? They're the little ties off my dressing gown. So the very first step of the instruction is to make the ties, because it's a bit fiddly and I guess it's good to get it out of the way. And I looked at that instruction and just thought, oh no, polyester chiffon, a lurex polyester chiffon, no less. That sounds like a nightmare. So I just ignored it and thought, oh, deal with that later. Anyway, later came, and rummaging it in the lining stash, I found this old dressing gown. And as I laid it out to iron it, because it had been in the stash for a long time, as I was pressing it, there were some lumps underneath, and I was like, what's this? And I looked, and it was those ties, and I was like, amazing, I can just use those instead of making my own. So they are literally, they were finished at both ends, so I just unpicked them. Done. So pleased. And I actually think that looks super lovely, not in the lurex for some reason. Don't know why, but I just really, really like it. So yeah, I'm so pleased with how it came out. It looks so well made to me. I'm really impressed with myself. You can probably tell. I'm going to have to do another insert about my smug face, aren't I? Until I started recording myself, I had no idea how bad my smug face is. But when I'm pleased with myself, I'm really pleased with myself, eh? Anyway, love it. The but is coming, you know it is. I don't feel amazing in it. I feel kind of, I don't know, I just feel a bit weird in it. I think it's just a style departure for me. It is very voluminous. It's the big sleeve and it's big here. Maybe that's it. In my head, and I don't want to sound like really full of myself or something, I know I look really nice in it. Like, I've put it on, I've looked in the mirror. I think I actually look really good. Sorry, more smug face. But I just don't yet quite feel that comfortable and fantastic in it. I'm hoping it will come. The other thing is, it's a bit of a confounding fabric, because to me, I was like, oh, white chiffon, lovely and summery. But then when I put the finished item on, I'm like, oh, it looks really eveningy because of the lurex. And I mean, you can see how much that shimmers. In person, it is a bit of a Bobby Dazzler. So I feel quite dressed up in it. But then, I don't know, I don't think I'd wear white like on an evening out. I don't know. It doesn't strike me as a let's go down the pub top. It strikes me more as a let's have a picnic in the park top. But I'd blind everyone, wouldn't I, on a sunny day in that? So I don't know. However, I do have just drinks with friends coming up, and I thought I'd try it there with jeans and see how I feel. Because as I say, I do really love it. So I hope I can figure out the styling conundrum, because yeah, I'm dead chuffed with it. So that's it for today. I hope you've enjoyed my little review of the Karmme Apparel Imby's flowy top. If you fit into the size range, which I'm afraid is a little bit limited, it says Australian sizes 8 to 14. So I think Australian are the same as UK sizes. I'm a 12 and it's perfectly roomy on me. Anyway, if you are lucky enough to have access to this, then go for it, because it's such a great free pattern. And I'm so pleased that somebody recommended it during the Sew Frugal challenge. So that's it. I hope to see you again really soon. Bye. Hi everyone, I'm Hayley. I'm always in the craft room, and today, nope, sorry if I just bashed the mic there. And now I'm finished. I'm just going to check my notes and make sure I didn't forget to tell you anything. No, I done good.